When I first became a church-related community worker, I wanted to change the world, and in some ways I still do.
Sometimes it is hugely challenging, sometimes it is totally frustrating, sometimes it's exhausting, but it's also really exciting, it's also so fulfilling.
It's been good, it's been exciting, but there has been challenges in terms of helping the church come to terms with what I do.
You begin to realise that if you help change one or a group of people's world, their world, then that's some achievement and that's something to be celebrated. It's a ministry on the edge, and often people, well, quite often people don't understand it. I sometimes think I've found that people, particularly people who don't come to church, allow you, they're more real with you because they don't quite see you as the minister in the dog collar in the church. And so you're somehow allowed into quite crucial points in people's lives. And that's a great privilege. I mean, I've been a church-related community worker since 1990. I've worked now in my fourth post, and each post has been very different. So the ministry changes depending on what type of context you're working in. And even within one post, one project, you find you've got different roles, so I behave differently sometimes in each role. Because church-related community workers tend to have ministries in areas that are disadvantaged, they're often the communities that are hardest hit by the current economic recession. So therefore, the church can do two things really, and it's quite a difficult balance. Where gaps are appearing in the services, support services for vulnerable people, we can often try and, I don't want to say fill the gaps, but provide some support services, pastoral care for people like that. But again, alongside that, we need to be taking a prophetic stand and saying to governments, you know, this is wrong, this is unjust that people are suffering.
Community development work is a slow business anyway, it's a slow process. I always remember this quote about community development work being about taking the long way round, and I think that often is the case. Things that you could quite easily and quite quickly do for yourself, you enable others to do, and so it might take longer. I think with the creation of the CRCW project here in Luton, it was about negotiating a space for the Christian voice to be heard in some community projects, community initiatives. I've been able to stand in that space between community and church, or rather I stand in both spaces, quite difficult to do, but I stand in both spaces and try to build links and to be a united Christian witness in a multi-faith, no-faith, multicultural environment. One of the projects that is very much homegrown is this Near Neighbours project, which is a cooking and befriending project, which is just about bringing people together from across different faiths, across different cultures. And once we're together, the focus isn't actually about faith. We gather, we meet, we talk, we eat, we laugh, and basically people start to make friends. And then those issues of faith and so on, those issues that sometimes declare people to be other, that declare people to be different, suddenly it's just you're friends together and you could talk about things. So people are quite naturally talking about their faith, but not just faith, they're talking about their families, their children, their jobs, their backgrounds, all kinds of things, as well as talking about food and ingredients and so on.
One of the development workers from the CRCW world came to Norwich, and I spoke to him and just started to explore what this CRCW ministry was all about. And it sounded really exciting in terms of where I was going and what were the possibilities. And I think from there it just became more and more apparent that this is the road I wanted to head down. Once you start the training, you're alongside other people doing the same thing and sort of coming from the same place almost, and that was really good for me because it meant that I could get different perspectives on what I was thinking and I was feeling in terms of the ministry, in terms of where God was taking me on my journey. And I really enjoyed the fact that there were so many different people there with so many different sort of theological perspectives that I could take in and work out my own theology then from that. I went into the first weekend of the course with my own ideas of what I thought it was all about and came out of it thinking, oh, help, there's so many questions I need answering now. And I come out at the end of those 4 years with still more questions, and I think it didn't matter because that was all part of the journey.
Although quite often I don't really feel like I'm doing anything particularly amazing, but then people will sort of say to me, I couldn't do that. I couldn't do that. I couldn't do what you do. And then that makes me realize that actually there is, you know, I think I'm in the right place, let me say. I think God put me in this place because I was the right person for this place.
It's about transformation. It's about transforming people's lives, whether they be inside the church or outside the church. And that's why it's good. It's a two-way thing, this church-related community work.
Just taught me to actually really open up the possibilities of what God's world was all about and where we could go with it all. And yeah, it was a fantastic journey, and I'm still on it now.